In this video, we're going to take a look at double bass thumb picking and how you can use it to keep your blues shuffles in the groove. Let's take a look at today's example. Hey there, John here with the Blues Guitar Institute, and this is your Tuesday Blues, where we cover cool acoustic blues concepts in a simple, straightforward, no-frills way to get you playing acoustic blues as fast as possible. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube and show your support for these free lessons that come out every single Tuesday. Today we're going to take a look at double bass thumb picking and that little groove that you just heard. First we're going to talk a little bit about what the technique is, and then we'll start breaking down that example. So let's get right to it. Before we start breaking down today's example piece, we're going to spend a second talking about what the double bass thumb picking technique really is all about, and then how you can practice it to get it up to a point where you're ready to tackle today's example. The double bass is really this chugging sound. It's the da 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 da, and you'll typically hear that in a blues shuffle. It sounds like this. So that's the double bass, and you can hear it's like this group of two notes repeated over again. Hence the name double and bass, because we're doing it on the low strings. And of course we're thumb picking this. We're just pushing through this with the thumb, and that's what's making this technique really come together, and we've got the double bass thumb picking. Now a great place to start with this is by going to that basic blues shuffle. And I'd like to do it in E because that's the very top string here that your finger's going to get to, so it's a whole lot easier to tackle that. And what you want to do is start at a very slow tempo and just play through the blues shuffle. So we're just going to move up from the second fret, that B note on the fifth string, up to the C sharp, a step higher. We're going to start by playing that a lot slower. You really want to play along with the metronome and make sure that you can lock in the beats, not only with what's happening on the fretboard and when you change, but that your double bass really hits on the beat. So if we do it a lot slower, we've got something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a couple of tips for you if you're new to thumb picking. This is going to take a while. This is going to take a lot of deliberate practice to get that thumb to do this double step here. And I really recommend practicing this slow and again with a metronome. And I also recommend do a little palm mute just to kind of keep the thump going, but when you're picking, make sure and push through the top two strings. I find it when you're starting out is a whole lot easier to just not think about controlling the thumb to just hit the sixth string. If you push through and you don't worry so much about hitting the fifth string as well, it becomes a little bit easier. And we can think about tightening up that control later, but right now we want to train the movement. And a great thing to do is to practice this and move up through the tempos. And when you get to a bright tempo, try playing it and keep it going while you talk to somebody, have a little conversation. Definitely shouldn't be anything in depth at first, but you know, if you can do this and carry on a brief conversation with somebody, then you know you've got your thumb on autopilot, and that's exactly what we're looking for. This thing just needs to have a mind of its own and move through the double bass technique all by itself without even really thinking about it. So once you have that and you practiced and you've got that up to a higher tempo, make sure you can play it at that higher tempo for a sustained period of time. We're not changing, we're not doing anything on the fretboard at this point, but what we do want to do is make sure that we can do this movement for a few minutes at a time. You're going to find that that's going to really stress some muscles in your arm, maybe up in here, and then of course your thumb is going to be screaming at you. But practice smart, don't hurt yourself, but keep playing through this, and that over time is going to build up the stamina that you need to just keep this thing going at a bright tempo. And again, if you're able to do it and talk, then you've got it nailed, and that's what we're looking for. Once you've got that, then what we want to do is start tackling things with a little bit more interest, a little bit more of a lively rhythm, and take things to the next level. And we can do that in today's example piece. And we started out over this E. This is an E blues progression, so we're going to work with an E chord, an A chord, a B7 chord up here, and then another A7 chord here. So those are the chords, and the real main idea here is set up with what we're doing over this E chord. This shuffle, we're breaking away from this simple, awesome, but simple blues shuffle, and we're moving into something with a little more finesse on the fretboard. So let's take a look at that. You heard that double bass happening throughout that entire part that I was playing over this E chord, and that's on the 6th string. So we're really just doing that double thump, 6th string only at this point. Then what I'm doing is I've got an E chord formed here, but I'm really focusing on the 3rd string and the 4th string here. And my two fingers, my index finger and my middle finger on my picking hand, are kind of locked together, and they're really just focusing on these 2 strings. So my thumb's doing its thing, and I've got these 2 fingers set and ready to pluck those 2 strings simultaneously. So what we're doing is I'm going to lay when we start with the chordal part here, I'm going to flatten out my ring finger and catch a little bar across those 2 strings at the 2nd fret. So that's what we're looking for. Then I'm going to pick up and hammer from the open strings, that's string 3 and 4, down onto their spot under the chord. So that means the index finger is going to hammer on from the G to the G sharp, and then the ring finger is going to hammer on from the open D to the E here. And that's the rhythm of this hammer. It's pretty quick. You don't hear the open strings ringing for a long time. We're jumping right into them. And again, keep that double bass going the entire time. And then that little piece will repeat itself until the last time where we just kind of stick the rhythm. Here we go. And that was with a single bass, just so you could hear what's happening more on the fretboard. Let's add in that double bass. Here I'll say we kind of stick that last one, we let that ring. Now, what you can do before that entire pattern repeats itself, and like I did in the example, is keep the bass going and throw in a little micro lick. And over that micro lick, perfectly acceptable to just pump out a single bass there. Extra credit if you can keep the double bass going while doing that lick. So that little lick fits nicely right in that little space in time. And I highly recommend just practicing this over and over. That's really going to set up a lot of the rhythmic ideas that you need to move into the other chords. But let's do that right now. We'll talk about what happens over the A chord. We're going to fret up an A just by barring just a regular A power chord, really A chord. And then we're going to keep the double bass going, this time on the 5th string. So this can be a little bit trickier. And I'm going to set up my index finger, middle finger, and ring finger on strings 4, 3, and 2 now under under that bar this time, and those are still going to act like picks together. I'm just going to pluck together. I'm not separating these fingers much at all during this piece, and what you'll get is this. So when we move into the A chord, we're definitely moving all the picking into a different string set. So the bass is going to be thumped out on the open A note. Keep a palm mute, and then our double bass is going to continue on the 5th string, pumping out that A note. And then you really want to set up around an A major chord here with the bar. Use the bar chord way of fingering this. You're not going to be able to play this next piece if you fret it like this. So get a good bar happening at the 2nd fret. And then what we're going to do is play with this idea, moving from this chord shape here, which is actually a D major. You can really see it if I move this. You know, we've got a D major, but if we play this 4th fret, that really is an F sharp, which is in the D major chord anyway. So we're moving from A and D. It sounds really cool to kind of alternate between those two chords. So what we're going to do is have that chord shape, again the F sharp there and the D there, but that A bar kind of keeping us grounded in A at the 2nd fret. So what we're going to do is move between this and this. And at the end we're going to hammer on. Remember how I said we kind of stuck that last landing in E? We're going to stick it here by hammering down into the D, or up into the D shape. So a couple of things to keep in mind here as we're going through this in A. Number one, we've moved the strings, so that's going to really challenge the thumb to do a different thing on a different string. And again, make sure that you have a really good solid bar here to make the hammer-ons and this, you know, playing back and forth between the D chord shape and the A chord shape sound super solid. That's what we're after. And then the other thing is that I'm now using 3 fingers and I'm picking strings 4, 3, and 2 simultaneously. Remember on the E chord, we were really focused on strings 3 and 4. But now I'm using that same sort of lock-in technique with my fingers, and I've just added my ring finger here, and I'm going to do that same simultaneous picking on the strings 4, 3, and 2 here. So once you do that, and you've got a good A piece and you've got a good E piece, you can go back to your E groove. Now we're going to do something really cool. We've got the E part and we've got the A part, and we can go back to the E following along with our 12-bar progression. I'm going to put it together in a minute, but we still need the 5 chord, and we need this B7. And what we're going to do is move up to this position on the neck around the 7th fret, and I'm going to play this 6-string 7th fret, that B, with my thumb. And the reason is I'm going to do a little mini lick here over this B7 sound. And that's the lick. Make sure you get that down before you try to add in that double bass. It's a basic lick and it's got a very familiar bluesy sound, but when you throw that over the double bass and try to do that at the same time, things definitely get a little more complicated. So what we're going to do is 9th fret, E note on the 3rd string to the B. So do a little bar there. And do that with the ring finger. That strings 3 and 4. And we're going to hammer up from the D to the D sharp, and then hit the B note again. And here. We just played that part and looped it over to demonstrate the actual lick and playing it in time with the bass. The cool thing is once you nail that, you take that entire pattern, move it down 2 frets into A, and hit the A chord on our way back down to E. When we do the E, we're really done. We're going to finish out the progression just playing the last couple bars over E. So let's build this thing back together. Now we've talked about E, we talked about A, and we've talked about this little deal, and then this, and that was over B, this over A, so A but a different A, and then finally back to E. Let's play through the progression on the slow side, and then I'll come back and play it up to tempo. If you're into playing some cool acoustic blues and you want to take your skills to the next level, then check out the Acoustic Blues Jumpstart. This is a course from Blues Guitar Institute, and I'm offering the first lessons completely free. All you have to do is go to bluesguitarinstitute.com/start now and sign up. Register for the first 3 lessons, and I'll take you through some of the core concepts of acoustic blues that I think you're really going to get a lot of mileage out of. That's it for today's lesson, and I'll see you back here next Tuesday. Until then, practice smart and play on.